All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back today. We've got a double podcast here at the Homeless Romantic podcast. We also got somebody from the No Beef podcast. Jake Ball, how you doing today, man?
Chris, very well, thank you. First time we've done a duel, so it's a little bit strange, but I like it, man. It takes the pressure off.
Doing a duel, but nobody gets hurt. It's not the Wild West here. We're actually going to share stories about being vegan and how we came to the same conclusions. Two strangers, one from America, the other from the UK, somehow find the same ideology. How is that, you know? Start it off. Tell me something about yourself. Tell me about your restaurant. Tell me about the podcast.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's weird because no one's ever asked me a question. So what do I say?
Today's your day.
I turned vegan at 26. Well, I'll say vegan. It was vegetarian first. 26, but call it 5 years plant-based. 3 years. The last 3 years, fully vegan. Aside from the story as to why, they're quite. You could probably guess. A few things added up in my head and I kind of made the switch. But in terms of the business, it was lockdown and I was working at a factory making shelves, and I was sanding away one day and we kept ordering food, as a lot of people did in lockdown, Uber Eats, Just Eat and whatever. And it kept coming and it was rubbish and it was overpriced and not many vegan options and whatnot. And one day I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to set up a food business. I've got zero experience in food other than cooking myself at home, and I jumped in at the deep end, and 3 years later I've got a shop and a food truck, so selling 100% vegan cuisine, burritos mainly. And 2.5 3 years in, I'm thinking part of me wishes I never started, but I have turned a lot of people vegan since. So it's going well. It's quite hard with the cost of living at the moment. It's been quite a difficult journey, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But I think we got good visions for the future.
So what really drove you? I mean, did you take cooking seriously when you were doing it on your own? I mean, when you're a vegan, you got to kind of focus in on what you're cooking. Were you artsy about it then, or did you really always have a passion for cooking?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like I wouldn't call myself a professional chef, but I did play around a lot. And ever since turning vegan, I just kind of kept trying different things and introducing new foods and anything that was away from chicken, rice, and broccoli. From the very start, I just thought, you know what, I can't eat this anymore. But when I turned vegan, I just started playing around and kind of enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I enjoy it as much as I did then, after having the business for a few years, but the motivation comes and goes, mate. I've started eating a wide variety now of food compared to before. What about yourself? Would you say you're a chef? Would you class yourself as
slowly but surely? You know, like the when you grow up and you don't know what you're doing at all in the kitchen, and you just I didn't know you have to it takes time to cook a potato, and I would thought you could just throw it in a hot pan and then you could immediately just cook it and it would be done. These grave mistakes. Slowly I learned how to feed myself, but for years on the road I would just do things like eat avocados and garlic, and I would subsist off that. That's probably why I look the way I do, a little skinnier than most people, but I was vegan almost out of accident a lot of the time. Except for the occasional salami, right?
Mm. So I take it you wasn't like a very big meat eater before. You're just one of these people who didn't like the thought of meat on the bone.
I don't know. It was too chewy. Like when you eat it, it's fatty, right? But it's beyond that. There's not that much exciting flavors happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
so you just the texture. It just wasn't doing it for. A lot of people say that. I hear people say that it's either too chewy or they're just not a fan of it on the bone with all the gristle and the the bits that come with it.
The breading on the chicken, the sauce on the ribs was always the best part. I noticed a girl took me out to eat tofu when I was 14 or 15. This girl in ninth grade, really nice girl. I worked up the nerve to ask her out, and she said, I'm going to take you to this spot. And I had never had tofu before. It was this hippie restaurant. They came and served it. It was marinated in soy sauce and, just toasted just great with a peanut sauce and shit. My life changed forever, man. I thought, well, it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as the flavor around it is good, right? And the texture is decent. And so that showed me that I could switch. But it was years before I actually did switch, Took a while.
Yeah. This is the thing with tofu. It's one of my favorite foods now. And everyone says, I couldn't eat it. It's not a nice texture. It's when you get it right, man, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so how long were you a meat eater? Has it been a while or?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm still relatively new. I've only been vegan for maybe 2 years now. I've been vegetarian for a little longer, but I always cared about animals, but I never could put it together or whatever, or just, the pressure and stress from living a certain lifestyle in America that forced me to be an opportunivore, which is I just had to eat whatever was available to me a lot of the times. When you'd go to people's houses and they cook for you or stuff, I constantly traveled and constantly couch surfed and stuff like this. So I was, at the helm of other people's desires and stuff. And so I just rolled with it for a long time. But as soon as I left and I became more domesticated, I realized that I did have the choice. And it took me a while because, I even smoked cigarettes. I did all these horrible things to my body, drinking alcohol, smoking cannabis all day, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, anything that would make my life, to get over some of the trauma that I'd been through. That's what I did. But up until recently, I've had the stability to say, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit doing all this stuff. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to go vegan because my wife has been vegan for 15 years. And that's the real inspiration there. Somebody who's been doing it that long and she knows what to do, right? She's got all the recipes. She knows what you need, what you don't need. She's a pro. So she held my hand and waited, constantly smelling me boiling beef in the kitchen. She's like, that smells good, but was never, mean about it. But eventually I just said, you know what? I fucking love animals. I can't even watch the trailer for that movie Babe about the pig, right? Without getting all teared up. When he goes, that'll do, pig. I get all wispy, man. I get misty. And I always was like that, and I just don't know. I feel stupid for not doing it sooner,
Yeah, well, everyone says the same. I'm going to admit something now that I've only told 2 people. Yesterday, I pulled over on the motorway to get some food, and I don't want to say it. Tell him. They do a no duck wrap. In a lot of service stations, they do a no duck hoisin wrap.
Okay.
And I was in a little bit of a rush, so I grabbed the meal deal. I didn't even want it. I only had it because it was cheaper. I wanted a drink, and it was £3 for a drink. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have the meal deal. And I grabbed the crisps, the chips.
Yeah.
I grabbed the drink, and I grabbed the no duck wrap, and I ate it. And I got to the last bite when I was driving, and I looked down, and it said hoisin duck wrap. And I ate the fucking duck, and I forgot about it until then. And I rang my brother straight away, and I said, "Look, I've ate a duck. It's been 5 years. Yesterday, this was 5 years, and I ate the duck wrap." And my mum used to have pet ducks. She had 4. They got eaten eventually by the foxes, and I ate the fucking duck, and it's going to take me a while to forget it, I think. But yeah, making that connection, like you said, with the pigs. It was the duck, man.
Where does your empathy come from? Was there something in your life that really prompted you? Because a lot of people that we, as vegans, we look around, we say, well, what's wrong with everybody else? Don't they feel bad for anybody but themselves? What was it for you? Was there experience in your life where it cemented some kind of oh yeah, other creatures feel pain?
Oh yeah, mate. I mean, to be fair, Chris, there was a lot of things that kind of added up over a period of time. So for instance, back in 2014, I was in Cambodia, and I'd come out of this like grill house, and I saw these two dogs chained up, and I had loads of meat left over. And these dogs, they looked malnourished, you know what I mean? And I love dogs, obviously. Everyone loves dogs. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to feed these dogs this leftover cow or pork or whatever it was that I was eating. And I gave them to the dogs, and the dogs just couldn't believe their luck. You know what I mean? They've probably never eaten such good juicy animal parts before. And I fed the dogs, man, and just the way they looked at me, and then something clicked where, hang on a bit, they're going to eat these dogs as well. The people, the poor, they're going to eat the dogs. So then I thought, well, I've just brought this meat, which was an animal, fed it to the dogs, and now the dogs are going to get eaten. And it just didn't add up. And these little things kind of added up over time, where just little things like one of them was a fish and chip shop. You'll laugh at this. I was in the queue. Obviously, fish and chips are massive in England. And there was a sign. There was a fish tank on the left, and above the fish tank, inside the chip shop, it said, "Please don't touch the glass. It distresses our fish." And then 2 meters away was a food warmer with battered fish cooked up, ready to serve. So, and I stood in the queue, and I remember taking an Instagram story of it, and I was like, this is mad, man. What the hell is going on? Please don't distress our fish. And then their cousin is fried up on the other side, ready to be swallowed by the next.
Don't bother our fish, because then they'll be too tough. We want them nice and relaxed and tender when we fucking brutally murder them and serve them up.
It's mental, mate. Like I was saying, it was like these little things I'd say over the course of 5 years, these little things just kept popping into my head. And then eventually, I don't know what the turning point was. I think I must have saw something like a documentary, and I just thought, you know what? I love animals, man. Like, how can I fund such a cruel industry? You know what I mean? And yeah, I made that connection pretty solidly as well after the 4 or 5 years.
But not having. Did you have people in your community or in your surroundings, friends, colleagues, anybody that was like, "Oh yeah, I'm vegan, and it's totally possible"? Did you have that?
My brother made the switch first, but not for a reason that is quite common. He made the switch because he was lazy and he didn't want to clean up the mess, so he started eating veggie food. But other than my brother, there wasn't many people that I knew or spoke about it. I just kept watching these videos on YouTube, you know, these Joey Carbstrong videos and whatever. And yeah, eventually, mate, I just thought, you know what, I can't argue with any point that these people put forward. I've got to change. But no, mate, I didn't really have anybody to kind of guide me or nothing like that. My brother never really speaks of it. But what about yourself? Did you have somebody there? Oh, you had your.
Well, I had the wife. Yeah, and that really helped. Yeah. But I think I needed to be eased into it. But I just pretty much watched her, right? And I didn't go with the vegan community until I turned, and then I thought, these are my new friends, you know. But now that I know what the argument is, I think it's one of the greatest arguments to like debate, because 79 million vegans in the world, maybe 1% of the global population, still it's such a no-brainer that and I debate politics and I do all this stuff. Veganism is just so easy to sell, to chase people around with their bad logic and say, well, it's good for the environment, it's good for you, which is a thing, and it's good for the animals, of course. And so, but yeah,
it is a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, like you said, the only thing you wish is that you'd have realised sooner, you know, what you were doing.
Yeah,
and it never really enters your head coming from a place like US or UK. It doesn't really. You're just brainwashed, aren't you, by a lot of things. You're indoctrinated. And
what's it like there? What's the food like there as far as your options for vegan versus of carnist?
Yeah, really good, really good. I mean, you go out to eat, and there's always 2 or 3 or 4 options. There's a lot of individual vegan places opened up like ours, and you know, there's a few dirty fast food ones. I live outside the city, so obviously inside the city there's a lot more that I haven't gone out to yet. But in terms of products in the supermarkets, there's loads, constantly new things coming out, and a lot of people making different changes to their diets as well. Specifically milk. I've noticed a lot of people talk to me, and they've cut out milk and whatnot, and I think it is a growing trend. A lot of people won't like to admit that, but I think the evidence is there. You know, in countries like this, and it's one of the easiest places to go. Apparently, you've got obviously Israel. I don't know what the actual league table is.
5% of them. 5% of the population is vegan. That's pretty amazing.
I know. I was on about like, you know, like what countries are the best for, you know, for vegan food and products, and
Germany's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a big burger and sausage place, isn't it, Germany? So
sure, but the options are coming into the stores like similar to the UK. The United States is the one that's really holding out, where you have to be in specific. You got to be in California if you want to see these certain things on the shelf. But no, I think I haven't been there in 6 or more years, 7 years. So I don't know. Maybe it's even going over there. But you've seen it change over time, though, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's been about 5 years for me, plant-based. I'm not sure what it was like before that, but speaking to people on a daily basis in the shop, you know, we have vegans come in and reducitarians come in and whatnot, and I mean, yeah, I've heard how it was 10 years ago, and it doesn't seem very pleasant. But now, like you say, you there's a lot of like hidden gems over here. Like you'll stop off at a pub somewhere, and there'll be like an amazing vegan dish that you haven't had before, not just your typical, you know, Beyond Burger or anything like that. So it is growing, man. It's growing. Obviously, you've been 2 years, so I bet you wouldn't notice the change.
I told you I don't leave my house. That's because the humans scare me. Yeah, no,
rightly so.
Right, but no, the store. I go to this very tiny hole in the wall store, and they have tofu, and they have the various things that I need, and everything else. I sort of order, you know, dry beans and stuff, and do all the cooking in house. And but Germany was always good with vegan food for a long time before the US, because the US got so hooked on beef. And you know, your country, the UK, has this great history of animal rights activism, which I just learned this year. I got to interview Ronnie Lee from the Animal Liberation Front, and just all these really great people. And it seems like they all come from the UK. You guys trying to free beagles from these testing places and everything like this. And so I just think of UK as this kind of beacon of veganism right now, or environmentalism, you know. Is there any truth to that as far as?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to see more British people than anything else. So I do see a lot of the, you know, the English activists and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I haven't got into it myself, so I wouldn't know too much about it yet. I just watch videos, and you know, I follow certain pages on Instagram. But there does seem to be a lot of people out there doing good things. But now, in terms of, you know, is it more rife here than anywhere else? I'm not too sure. But talking of the beagles, that's about an hour and a half drive from where I am, and it's horrible. I try not to watch the videos, but I feel like I've got to do something there, and I feel like I will go out that way at one point to do something, but I just don't trust myself. At these events.
Oh man, somebody would get hurt. Somebody would get fucking hurt.
This is what I mean, mate. I mean, if I was going to drive an hour and a half, I want to be doing something physical other than holding up a sign. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd be arrested or what. I don't know how it would.
I think we both are on the same page there. We don't have to incriminate ourselves, but there would be trouble. And yeah, these guys, the hunt saboteurs too. And I agreed with this other guy. I said, you know, I couldn't do it. Because I would wind up in prison for sure.
Yeah, They've got some good patience, man. They I mean, you look at these videos where there's people in the street and they've got the sign up, and you see what people say to them and how they act. And oh man, yeah, you need I think you need to be well into your meditation to deal with some of the idiots that walk past and say stupid things. I'll get them out here, man. I'll get people out of the frontier, like shout stuff and
Oh,
whatever,
really?
and I have to bite my tongue. Yeah, it's crazy, and to think that you get comments and things and giggles just for your choice not to eat a baby lamb is fucking incredible.
Yeah, has that shaken your faith in humanity, knowing that there's people out there that it's okay, don't get it, but also need to rub it in your face?
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I thought I'd seen it all in my 20s, but in the last few years, having this vegan place and having the conversations that I've had, it has kind of destroyed any hope that I had for people who you think are normal as well. And it's like I say, a lot of it is friendly. We don't see it as friendly because we know what goes on behind the scenes, and it is a disgusting, it's a disgusting industry, man. But yeah, in terms of just people just saying stupid things, and then they say something, and you think, well, I didn't think you were like that, and it does reveal what a person is like, in my opinion. And you don't want to admit it. It's kind of like, I hope he's joking, but he's not. You know what I mean? It's some of the things I've heard is just crazy, man. What would you say the craziest thing, or the most shocking thing that you've heard from an anti-vegan side?
Well, they run the gamut, right? There's all these go-tos that they have, like we're supposed to eat meat because that's where we come from and our teeth are designed for it, which is not true. Bonobos are our last ancestor, whatever. They eat plants, what else do they say? Oh, you get a lot of them just say, bacon, or that they see a pig that's in some kind of horrible trouble or whatever, and they say, bacon. And but what gets me, and it's I get in arguments with people over, is the fact that they are, you can eat meat, go hunting, but this is more about a personality trait, right? When somebody goes out of their way to attack a minority of people, especially one that is basing their whole philosophy about love, these people are irredeemable pieces of shit, And I wish them nothing but the worst. I hope they trip and fall into the eye of a volcano, because they're just worthless fucking human beings. Pardon my French, but it's steeped in hatred usually, like this really, and there was one that was like, you goddamn vegans think you're so high and mighty, don't you? You think you're just better than everybody else. And I kept saying, no, we do it because we know we're not better than everybody else. If there's one thing I fully understand, is I'm not more important than anything. And that just drives them crazy.
Yeah, I've heard things like, for instance, on a group chat, and there's 20 people in the group chat, and someone will bring it up, and I'm like, this conversation had nothing to do with it. Why is it there? Why is it in the front of your mind? Why does it annoy you so much? And after doing quite a few podcasts and speaking to different people, and listening to their perspectives on it, it's a defense mechanism, and that's all it is, and that's what I've come to realize with people. You know what I mean? So I try not to take too much notice, but it really fascinates me, that side of it, the psychology behind it really fascinates me. In particular, men who think they're macho, because that one blows my mind. I mean, I know people who, how can I put it? They wouldn't say boo to a goose, but then they'll make jokes about eating a dead cow, saying it was still mooing last night. You know what I mean? And that's the part that fascinates me, is that that inconsistency with what they're like as a person. Now, if a criminal came up to me, a big time crook who went inside for animal abuse, domestic abuse, violence, all these kind of things, and he came up to me and said, fuck the cows, fuck the dogs, I'll kill them all, I'll eat them all, then I could understand it. You know what I mean? So when these people that I know, who are very comforted in their Western world, and they're very blanketed, and then they come out with things that are violent, and it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
Where does this come? Where does this come from? Was there action movies in the 1980s that portrayed these guys eating steak and throwing hand grenades? What is it about macho-ness and eating meat that it just got married together? Like you can't separate the two. Yeah,
it's mad. I said to me, mate, I said, well, what would you do if we got invaded? You'd run the other way. You know what I mean? So if you're going to talk about masculinity and violence and all these barbaric practices, I want to see you with an axe attacking the Vikings. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to say things that resonate with that kind of behaviour, don't act like you're a savage. You know what I mean? Because you're not. And it's nuts, isn't
it? This disconnect too. It's like we can respect their tiers of like what I will nod to and say, well, if you can kill your own animal and you can stomach that, you're more of a man than somebody who has a factory machine come in and do it.
Yeah.
You're both, assholes in my book, but still one is definitely on a different level than the other. And, but it is some of these soft inner, like city guys who think they're tough and it's just, it doesn't have to be that way,
No.
Be strong, be fit, but don't get confused on, and it seems like an insecurity, right? Like no matter what it is, we never bully somebody who's obviously way smaller than us. If somebody who's confident in who they are will always know that, he's a chihuahua, I don't have to worry or whatever. But the insecure alpha male wannabe needs to go around and kick dirt on people and stuff and take out whatever problems. And these people obviously have some kind of issues, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The psychological aspect really bugs me out too. It's like the same people that maybe as a kid would like, kill an animal just to see what would happen, or that's the kind of lack of like, thinking that I'll tell you this story. When my great uncle, he was like he was a piece of shit. He was driving home one day when he was a teenager, and my grandpa was in the car, and they're driving and so, and he saw two pheasants crossing the road, and he chose to run over these two baby pheasants or whatever. Like swerved out of his way to do this. And my grandpa got home and he just, sent the kid to his room and was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. And it's true. It's like there's this element where there's people out there that can't put two and two together. But yeah, I mean, so tell me an experience from your early life about interacting with an animal and having some kind of connection where you go, yeah, okay, you're my friend.
It would probably be the dogs that we had. We had two dogs growing up. We had one, then it died, then we had another one, and that died. But it's just how, and a lot of people, I'd say the majority of people have a dog in their lifetime, you know what I mean? So you can kind of come to understand how intelligent they are and understand their personalities and how they've got like a unique soul. If you didn't have a dog and you didn't make that connection, then I could probably maybe understand someone who doesn't see it in, cows or horses or pigs or chickens. But the fact that most people do have dogs, I think that's probably where mine would be, where, you have these dogs for 10, 15 years and you kind of have that connection with it. You walk it, you feed it, it goes in moods, it's happy, it's sad, it's hungry, it's playing. And then you kind of just, at one point, you just kind of realize that that's the same with a pig. And then people gas them to death and put them on a piece of bread and then make jokes about it. It's fucking incredible, mate. But yeah, I mean, I've always loved animals anyway. I mean, even before I made the switch, I'd kind of look at an animal in a way that I'd look at a dog, you know what I mean? So eventually it just clicks, man, and then you just think, hang on a bit. I can't give that one shit.
Did you like start doing that with like small? I've been doing it with smaller and smaller creatures now, where I see a spider and I'll just watch him and just think, wow, he's just like a fuzzy little puppy dog.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's no need, is there? I mean, there's just no need. if I trod on an ant, I'm not going to cry, but I wouldn't purposely tread on the ant.
Right.
And like you say, it's funny that you should mention the story of your uncle in the car.
Yeah.
Because I'd say 5 weeks ago, I saw someone did the same thing to a pigeon. I think the pigeon flew off, but it's just like, why would you do this, man? Like, why would you want to do that? I mean,
who was it? Did you get a good look at him?
From the way he was driving and the type of car he had, I can imagine what
probably
what kind of person he was.
Probably a dude, right?
Proper dickhead. Yeah, I mean, I saw it, man, and I was just thinking, and he wasn't even 17. Do you know what I mean? This chap was pushing 40, and it's just like, come on, man, it's shocking. But mate, the next question I was going to ask you was, obviously I've had a lot of conversations with vegans, but lately I've managed to persuade a few carnivore people to come on and explain why they're so anti-vegan and why they keep saying veganism is a lie. The last one I had on was Kevin, really nice bloke, American guy. He listed a bunch of nutrients that he swore that we couldn't obtain from plants. I didn't want to turn around and say, I can get vitamin D, I can get vitamin B. I just said, look, there's loads of studies back and forth. How do you disprove of a long-term healthy vegan? But going back onto the vitamins, how do you ensure that you get all your vitamins? And what's your reply to somebody who might say, you can't get your vitamins and you can't get an optimal diet from plants?
That sounds like a load of horse shit. No, I think this is always the question, right? Supplementation, right? We always talk about supplementation. The biggest one is B12. Now, B12 used to exist in the soil, but we've depleted our soil over, this last century and a half from industrialized farming practices where we spray all these kind of chemical fertilizers. And for whatever reason, the B12 is not found anymore. Well, it also gets processed in the stomach of livestock. So this was a source that we were kind of using for a long, long time to get our B12. This is why carnists will say, you got to eat meat to get B12 or whatever. Well, it turns out that the animals are becoming deficient in B12 because it's not in the soil where they graze, right? Or in the feed that they graze from. And so they're actually getting shots too. So the meat that you eat, these sheep or whatever you're into, sick fuck, you get shots, vitamin shots, and then they get the meat, then you eat the meat, then you get the B12. You can cut out the middleman. B12 supplements, while aren't available probably worldwide, like we haven't scaled up the industry of B12 supplements yet, but there are plenty out there. You take one a week, bada bing, bada boom. You don't have to eat an animal, a rotting, dead, animal carcass. Other than that, yeah, the issues with vitamin D, I'm not really worried about that. I got a multivitamin from this company. It's like a few bucks for a bottle that lasts you a month and a half. Okay. You pop this thing, you get iron. You get, which, it's not even a big deal either. You can get iron from beets. You can get iron from leafy greens. You can get iron from cranberry juice. Yeah. Stuff like that. Not really worried about missing out on that. What else is there? Iodine. You got to have iodine. Well, there's iodized salt. It's completely vegan. Don't eat too much salt, but sprinkle a little bit on your meal. Other vitamins. What else is the really thing? Okay, so collagen. Okay, they're worried about. You get vegan face which is a small price to pay if you're trying to save animals. Like, but my face looks bad. Like, I'm not that vain. But collagen also comes in vegan supplements where you can get, that as well. So the other thing that I heard, maybe you can help me out with this, is like some kind of, I think it starts with a C, but it has to do with, I think
There's a word that I can't. Yeah, there's a word that I can't pronounce, and I forgot what it's called now. But it's who do you believe? You know what I mean? It's like I understand what you're saying. There's a study that says that vegans are deficient in this, but also I know somebody who's 65 and he's been vegan for 40 years.
Yeah.
So we, it needs to kind of add up, doesn't it?
And these studies too. Sometimes one of the studies I read the whole study, and by the end it was like, oh well, they gave one group. The headline in the Daily Mail was "Vegan diets aren't actually good for you," and then you read the scientific study and it says, "Oh, we gave these people meat and we gave these people like potatoes and we didn't give them any B12, and it turns out their cognitive function wasn't as good." It's like, yeah, and then that is so. This is what these people are reading and regurgitating to us and saying, see. But I agree. Like, we have people that are going 65 and older who have been vegan for 50 years. Ronnie Lee from the ALF, he's been vegan for 50 years. And I just, that's proof.
Yeah.
But yeah, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin K, it's all available to us.
Yeah, it's self-evident, isn't it? And I said to this bloke, I said, I've spoke to probably 300, maybe more vegans in the last 2 or 3 years. They come in the shop, they're all healthy, they're all well.
Yeah,
a lot of them have got a lot of muscle mass. A lot of them are sports people, elite runners. A lot of them are powerlifters. If that wasn't the case and they came in and they were, droopy-eyed, bags under their eyes, weak, all these things that they claim us to be, I could then believe it. You know what I mean? I could then look at that and say, well, obviously what you're saying is true, but the physical evidence I've got before me doesn't align with that. You know what I mean? I can't kind of understand that bit where, and I'm not going to turn around and be one of the people who say, if you eat chicken breast every day, you're going to develop a disease. I'm not the one saying that, because it's quite obvious that there's a lot of healthy meat eaters out there.
Yeah.
So, but for them to turn around and say the opposite, you can't survive, you can't do this, you can't get this. Well, the proof's there, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look at you. You're somebody who's extremely athletic. Now, if I said it, they'd be like, yeah, look at this skinny prick. He's not. But I'm actually I'm more healthy than I've ever been. Like, I've actually gained weight since I started being vegan, and I have more energy. Yeah. But you are what, boxing and doing all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I do boxing twice a week, and then gym 3 or 4. Maybe I'll play a game of football. Loads of energy. Have
you always been athletic?
Yeah. I've always been active, man. I've always been active, even eating meat, So I can't really say there's been much difference in my health or the way I feel. But looking at other people who are around a similar age, I can kind of compare it there and say, maybe on the little bit of the fitter side or whatever. But yeah, man, I'm active. I've got a friend who's just won the Edinburgh Marathon. He came first. He's vegetarian since birth, vegan for the last 4 or 5 years. So
that's who we need, man. That's the people we need on our team, right?
This is it, man. I've got to get him back on, actually, and do another one and get his voice out there, because that's
right.
That's some achievement, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's easy for me to whack a punching bag for an hour or go to the gym and do 10 sets of bench, but to win the Edinburgh Marathon is quite spectacular. So but yeah, man, it's I just can't get that. This is the bit that I need people to, I've invited that many people on this week and they keep saying no. And I said, we need some evidence. We need some proof. I need to listen to what you say in regards to these top vegan athletes. You know what I mean? But I was going to ask you that the man I'm on about, the American who I spoke to last week, Kevin, he he spoke about the vitamins and whatever else. But another big topic that he mentioned was the propaganda and the elites and the powers that be pushing a plant-based diet, which I obviously don't agree with. What would you say?
Okay, so if you're going to talk about the global elites and an evil industrialist that's reaping all this profits from making people unhealthy and making them eat shitty food, you should really look at the American diet you have now. We're talking about an obesity epidemic that started in the 1980s that hasn't slowed down whatsoever. People are chronically ill. Factor in the fact that healthcare is more expensive than it's ever been over there. Americans have no room to talk about anything regarding health, as far as I'm concerned. But
No.
yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like
This was my reply. You know, I said, if there's anything being pushed on anyone, it would be the shit food that's been pushed on us for the last 60, 70 years. So why they would wait till 2022 or 21 or whenever they think it started to push Beyond Meat burgers? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And they only produce these products out of a demand, don't they? So there's got to be a demand there in the first place for them to produce the products and sell them. And I can't get mad around that either. It's like, well, if people didn't want them, they wouldn't exist. So people want them. People want them because they're waking up to the bullshit and they're seeing all this footage online and they're going, I don't want to gas pigs anymore. I don't want to be part of that shit going on with the lambs getting chopped up. You know what I mean? So this is what's happened. And, you know, the internet's blew it wide open and people are seeing this footage going, what the fuck? No one told me about that baby lamb. No one told me about the chickens getting macerated. And this is what's going on. Therefore, billionaires are profiting from it because that's what billionaires do.
yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense to me as to why they would
You
come
know,
up with this big agenda.
hey, man, like I agree with you. The global elites, let's get rid of them. They're no good. Capitalism sucks. Yeah, okay, I'm down. But Bill Gates isn't trying to force feed you Soylent Green or whatever. Like it's based in the most fucking obvious, message of harm nothing. Be nice. Don't kill if you don't have to. When the grocery store is full, stocked up with everything that there's people in West Africa that can't go vegan because it's just not feasible. Okay. But you have the choice to go get yourself some nice legumes, get yourself some, but you're choosing to do it. And I think it just goes back to a guilt. And your friend Kevin there, I think he's deep down the rabbit hole. He's an American guy. He might not be able to be saved. Who knows? But the WEF, I heard the other day, Bill Gates is trying to make us eat this processed crap. And I just told her, you don't have to eat processed crap. You can eat beans, legumes, nuts, tofu, tempeh, fruits, grains, etc., and no, that's not what they want to hear. They want to have a specific axe to grind where they're mad about, some conspiratorial force that's against them, but it's based in the idea, hey, just let me do what I've always done. Let me live in the world that I was promised as a young person, and let me just put on the blinders and continue on my way. And any kind of information that says, don't change, it's okay, don't change. They'll absorb it and say, oh, yeah, good. Well, Jordan Peterson eats nothing but meat. It's like, yeah, well, all right, have fun with your colon cancer, whatever, you moron.
Yeah. It's similar to, if I was a drug dealer selling heroin to someone, why would I be interested in switching the product to meth if they're already addicted to heroin? It makes no sense. I think I asked him that, and he said it's all to do with money, and you can produce these plant burgers cheaper than you can produce meat burgers, and it's all down to profit. And I'm thinking that's a long road to go down, man, just to earn a bit more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's to change every single person's diet on Earth. So
cheaper to produce is good. I don't understand. Also, you don't have to eat the processed stuff. Like I said, you can eat legumes, bro. Like, I wish he was here right now because I would just be screaming at him. What are you, an idiot? No. What is it? It's bean protein, pea protein compressed into a patty with tons of coconut oil jammed in there. It's delicious, but it's basically the methadone for vegans to wean themselves off of the comforts that they know from meat. Like I needed a big sloppy burger after, at the very beginning. Yeah. But eventually I've been just doing curries and stuff, and I'm just way fitter and way happier.
Oh man, I bet you see these comments everywhere, don't you, about the fake meat, and they say it's one big scam. They're trying to push this and push that. It's like, hang on a bit. Most vegans I know will only eat a fake burger once a week, or
Right.
maybe once a month, or just when they desperately need to. You know what I mean? So I don't know where this link comes from between veganism and eating the processed rubbish that's coming out.
I think it's
personally, I eat
because
a
these
week.
these dullards that we're talking to, they subsist largely on processed food, and so that's what they think the switch is. Well, I'm going to eat this processed food with it, and they're like, well, I don't see the difference and stuff. Well, it's completely out of people's lexicon, the idea of like cooking for yourself, right? Because there's no time in the modern bustling capitalist world. Everybody's off to work, everybody's working 2 jobs, especially in America. Drive-through culture, restaurant culture. It's kind of understandable that these people don't have any imagination beyond, getting their food served to them through a drive-through or a conveyor belt or whatever. Just open your mouth and put it in here.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't think of it from that point of view, where people just, eat shit anyway, and they're like, hang on a bit, they're trying to feed us more shit instead of just cooking.
Yeah.
Cook a Buddha bowl. You know what I mean? Go and cook a Buddha bowl or something.
Yeah.
You haven't got to go through to KFC and have a McCorn or whatever they call it.
Right.
Or,
yeah, when
that'd
people
be the next one from McDonald's, actually, not KFC.
Oh yeah, I would guess that you'll see more of this processed stuff though, just because that's what another aspect of society that's not great, that we have to like figure out how to make time to cook for ourselves again. I mean, so have you got testimonials from people that you have come into your place and they've switched over, or that they've? I mean, do you know lazy vegans that are fat?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a few. There's a few, and I can imagine that they were big before switching over. So so they just kind of carry a bit of weight naturally or whatever.
Yeah,
but the vast majority of people I meet are very, very well in shape. They look after themselves. They're into self development. They're into the meditation, the running, the yoga. They're into the gym. All people who kind of want to look after themselves, and it's good to see. And also, I've met people who are not vegans, and they've came in and they've ordered food for the family, and I always ask them why. They come in and I say, oh, what's going on? Are you vegan? Are you plant-based? And a lot of people go, no, but, and they've got a little bit of a guilty face, and they're like, oh, but I'm trying, or I've got rid of red meat, or I've stopped eating cheese. But also really avid meat eaters who come in and just be like, yeah, I just like the food. And it's good to see. I've had a farmer come in who was looking really guilty, and I said, what do you do? Where are you from? And he said, yeah, I'm a farmer. He said, I have to look him in the eye when I kill him. And he said it in a way that was really positive, because it was a breath of fresh air to hear a farmer, number one, order food, vegan food, and number two, admit to something that he knows is quite disturbing. You know what I mean? So it's quite promising to listen to it. This is the reason why I set the podcast up, really, because I was having that many conversations, and half the time I should have been cooking and I was talking to the customer, and it was oh shit, that's another dish that I've burnt, and that's going in the bin. And so yeah, it's just been good to kind of meet different people and talk. And then someone said to me, set the podcast up, because it's it's an interesting topic, and here we are. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah, well,
it's great.
Next question for you, Chris.
Yeah,
regarding food, I can imagine you've done a bit of traveling.
Sure.
You're in Germany, US,
Absolutely.
and whatever. Where is the best vegan eatery that you've been, or is there a dish that stands out anywhere?
There are some dishes that stand out. At the beginning, like I said, it was hamburgers and stuff like that. But on the road, you'd run into these hippie communes, and they would serve you lentils in a dish. And it was sometimes spiced well, sometimes it was just horrific. Everybody's cooking skills varied depending on where you were. But the tofu that I ate as a child that started me on my way, peanut sauce as like a savory condiment, right? Is another thing. At some point, I got into all these phases of food, because I grew up in this restaurant: fast food, hot dogs, chicken wings, ice cream, basic American unhealthy food. and I got tired of it. And then you got into Mexican food in America. You get great tastes like cilantro and guacamole and raw onions and spices and stuff. And then I got into Thai food. And then ever since then, I've kind of been a foodie because I figured that there's all this stuff in the world that I don't know about. Back when I was eating yogurt, I had never had Greek yogurt before. This is how sheltered I was. And I tried Greek yogurt for the first time. And it was just so different that I knew that I always had to go out and try to be brave and try to like find some new delicious stuff. Coconut milk Thai curry. Oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah.
And through all these tastes, my favorite flavors weren't the meat flavor, which is not anything, but all the spices and herbs and oil and salt. That's really where it's at. That's when your brain lights up. I'm smart enough to know that if my brain lights up and says, "Oh, that's oil, salt, and sweets. You're good to go." Then my brain's happy, and hopefully my gut's happy too. Yeah. But Thai curry. Let me think. I did a vegan pizza recently, which was really good, with the cashew cheese, because that's the hardest thing to do, right? Is the cheese. You want to do something cheesy. Oh, you don't get me started, because I've got all these recipes in my head that I've been cooking at home, and I feel like people should be doing this. Alfredo, fettuccine Alfredo, the cheesy kind but made with cauliflower instead, and nutritional yeast. Forget about it. How about you?
Yeah. Mate, funnily enough, you talk about the Thai curries, and when I did a lot of traveling in my 20s, I went to Thailand a lot, and I went to all these countries, and I just didn't eat their local cuisine. I wasn't interested, man. I just wanted steak, I wanted chicken, I wanted rice, I wanted typical gym food, high protein. And I'm pissed off because now that I've grew up a little bit, and I'm obviously now vegan and I'm eating all these different things, I keep finding the Massaman curries and the red Thai curries and all these things from the Chinese that I didn't know about. And to think I just wasted all this time from not eating the local cuisines, you know what I mean? But there's a Thai place not far from here, and we've been there twice now, and it's really good. And like you say, it's not about what's in it. There's tofu in the curry. It's to do with the flavors and the spices, man. And that's a good one, the Thai place. But yeah, there's a place down the road that does all American. It's called VGM Boulevard. So they do all like American hot dogs, burgers, loaded fries, proper Americanized calf, and that's
also good. Also good, yeah. How about your menu though? You run a restaurant. What's it called? Puratu?
Purito. So it rhymes with burrito, but with a P. So it's kind of pure. It's kind of eat. So it's kind of a play on words. But we do all different dishes. We do a Korean dish in the burrito. We do a jerk, a Jamaican hot one. We do a noodles, like a sweet chili noodles. We use a lot of seitan, a lot of tofu, a lot of tempeh. And I'm just building currently a salad bar to do like a Subway style counter. So you can come in and choose what you want on the wrap rather than a sandwich. So that's the next step, mate. The next step to hopefully survival. The way things are going. But what about in Germany? Have you got any nice? Do they do like vegan restaurants out there? Or
they do. My wife works at the university, and they have a restaurant at the university it's a bit salty, but it's completely vegan menu. And you see this, a lot of schools are going completely vegan. But you can hit up a nice falafel joint anytime and get a pretty decent vegan deal there. Now I'm pretty sure it's vegetable oil they cook it in, but mostly you can get that sort of thing. Falafel was another one that was like to show you that vegans can have more fun. Falafel is awesome. Wrap it up with kind of sauce and some, oh shit, I'm hungry now. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to do a falafel dish, I think. I did try it before, but the problem with falafel here, I don't know about over there, but when they sell it at the supermarket, it's really shit and it's dry. And people must buy it, eat it, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not having that ever again." But when they have homemade falafel, obviously it's a lot different to your cold, refrigerated, dry shit. So no one brought it. Actually, it wasn't really a good seller. But like you say, if you can get a good one, like a fully homemade one. It's
Yeah, you'd make
really
it
good.
make it from, whatever, dried chickpeas from scratch, right? And then
That's it. Yeah,
add
yeah,
some spices or something, and then I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I forgot how to do it now. Actually, I'd have to
Well,
look it up again.
it's some
But
kind of secret. Like you gotta add just the right amount of water. If you add too much, then it won't clump together very well.
yeah,
But if you
that's
add
it.
perfect, then you can make these little balls and then whatever, fry them or bake them. Which I haven't baked
Yeah,
them. I always fry them. But
yeah.
you want to hear a good recipe? Tofu
Mm.
in a bowl, right? Put some peanut butter on it, like I put a sauce like a lime juice and a peanut butter and a soy sauce and mix it all, and then I sort of get the tofu wet, and then I dump in a bunch of potato starch and like a little bit of flour or breadcrumbs, and then swish it around real good, and then throw the whole mess in the oven. When it comes out, it tastes like it's been fried, but it's way healthier and
Yeah.
crispy and just fucking, oh my God, it's wonderful.
It sounds the one, mate. Yeah, you'll have to send me some recipes over that you've
Yeah.
mate, especially the peanut sauce, man, because I'm a massive fan of satay.
Yeah.
So anything peanutty like that, I'm a big fan.
Do you cook with tahini at your restaurant?
I have done, mate, but not in any dishes. No, no. If you
Yeah.
got a nice one for that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of my go-to for lots of sausage and dressings and stuff like this. But
What would you eat in a day? What would your daily intake look like?
today, well, look, most of the time I won't eat in the morning, and that's sort of a mistake. But if I do, I'll have a bowl of oatmeal and a banana and some nice like green tea or something. I used to drink coffee, but we cut that out. And then today we cooked. We had a salad. Lots of fresh greens. We do community-supported agriculture out here. Get the greens, make a nice salad, pepper, cucumber, stuff like that. And then, I roast my own nuts, which is cool too. Everybody out there,
Nice.
take some cashews and almonds, throw them in a pan with just a little bit of oil, roast them for a minute, then throw in a little bit of salt, and then throw in some pepper, and then throw in some cayenne pepper, whatever you want, and then throw in like a half teaspoon of maple syrup at the end, and then mix it all together. You'll have this sweet, sticky, spicy, nice, nutty. Oh, it's awesome. And then I throw that in the salad as like and vegans out there, hey, you got to get your pumpkin seeds, your sunflower seeds, your flax seeds. Great source of omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah.
And then that's what I did today. I threw it all in a thing, and then I did this tahini dressing, which I go real easy. Tahini, lime juice, bit of soy sauce, and then hot water. Mix up the whole thing. Pour it over a whole salad. Oh, it's great, man. We got to do a whole episode about food.
I know, mate. Well, it's funnily enough, my next idea for the podcast was to ask someone a recipe and then me give you a recipe, and then that week give it a blast, mate. So I think the nut in the pan is going to be the one for the week, I think, mate. So you'll have to well, I could listen back. I'll listen back to this and I'll give it a blast, mate. And
quinoa too, of course. I mean, quinoa is magical, right?
Yeah,
it's a magical
mate,
grain.
I discovered bulgur wheat not long ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it was like chicken fried rice. It was quality, man. You know what I mean? It was there was no skill to it, man. I just put the stock cube in the pan, boiled it up, and have it raw, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah,
man. It was
isn't that crazy? Rice becomes boring after a while when you see these things. Yeah, have you ever had tabbouleh?
I haven't. No.
It's similar. I think it's like some kind of salad that you get at a Middle Eastern place. It's little balls. It's kind of like quinoa, but more yellow. It's like it's like you put some lime in there, put some whatever cilantro, whatever you like. Pretty refreshing because it's like a summery kind of cold salad thing. It's really good. Really
quality,
good,
mate. I'll have to have a look. I have heard of that actually, mate. So you'd think that I'd be a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah, you have a restaurant.
Yeah, I know. I'll get into the systems of the business, and it's sometimes I just get home and I'm like, I'm just having beans on toast, or it's
yeah, I mean, God bless you, but
not as fancy as people think.
What you're doing is beyond restaurant ownership, though. What you're doing is super important. You're like a missionary going out there and like working your ass off to not just feed people, which is already a joyful thing that you're spreading, but this idea that it's for the animals as well. So you're making people happy with their tongues and making animals happy. Dude, you're a holy figure, you know?
Thank you, mate. I'm doing my best, man. Well, like yourself, man, you know, it's activism in itself, isn't it? You're still doing it. You're on the mic, you're talking to people, you're spreading the message, man. So, no, I appreciate it. And hopefully, people start listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometime soon.
That's all we really hope. All right, everybody. Well, we got our hour out. We're going to talk after this, but this was all for the podcast today. This is the Homeless Romantic Podcast. I'm Chris Jeffries, and you are
Jake, aka No Beef Podcast. Thank you, Chris. It's been I can't believe that's been an hour and 15. That's
it was too short. Let's just do it again in the coming weeks. I don't mind.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, anytime. But yeah, thank you very much, mate. I enjoyed it, and I'll get you up on air soon.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye-bye.